Hello, and welcome back to English with Gemma, your go-to podcast for turning English practice into progress. Today, we have what I think is a fascinating topic. We are talking about the future of language learning and how technology is revolutionizing the way that we learn English. So, there's no doubt that technology has made language learning more accessible to everyone. I mean, I'm an online English teacher, so my job would not be possible without technology. I use Zoom to teach my lessons, and it's amazing. It allows me to connect with people from all over the world that I probably wouldn't be able to teach without technology. So, of course, there's no doubt that technology in that way is an amazing thing for teaching English. But we are going to talk about all different ways in which technology is currently being used in the language learning field. So, not only does technology make language learning more accessible, it can also make it more personalized and, more fun and interesting. So, whether you're like a tech enthusiast or you're just curious about what's new in the language learning and technology field, I'm going to try and give you a little glimpse into the exciting innovations that are happening right now and that are changing the language learning game at the moment. So let's get started. First up, let's talk about some of the emerging technologies that are making waves in language learning right now. One of the biggest game changers, and I feel like everyone's talking about this recently, is artificial intelligence or AI. AI-powered tools are becoming increasingly popular because they offer personalized learning experiences. For example, apps like Duolingo or Babbel, they both use AI to tailor your learning experience and to tailor the content that they're showing you to your specific learning needs. And it does it all with like an algorithm that looks at patterns of what your weaknesses are, and then they target your weaknesses by giving you more exercises to help improve those weaknesses. So these apps, like I just said, they analyze your progress and then they adapt the lessons accordingly. So what's cool about that is that it ensures that you're always being challenged at the right level. And then there are AI-driven chatbots. I actually work with a few of those, or I have worked with them in the past. Pingo Learn is a great one. You also have Elsa Speak, or I believe it might just be called Elsa now. And these are AI chat robots, that simulate real life conversations. So they help you practice speaking in kind of like a low pressure environment. I know that a lot of people can become very nervous when they're trying to practice their English speaking. So knowing that you're not talking to a real person kind of takes away some of that pressure, I think. So it's cool. These tools are kind of like having a personal language tutor in your pocket, which are available anytime that you need it. Another exciting development in the language learning tech game is the use of virtual reality or VR. It can also be called augmented reality or AR. So in VR language learning, you put on a VR headset, those crazy goggles that you see people wearing sometimes and playing video games. So you put on the VR headset and you find yourself like in a virtual cafe in Paris ordering a coffee in French or walking through a busy market in Beijing practicing Mandarin with the market vendors. So It's really cool. There's apps like Mondly VR. Those offer these kind of immersive experiences where, you can practice your English again in a low pressure environment because it's not real. So these are incredibly effective for practicing language in a context that feels real, but it's simulated and it's all virtual. Augmented reality, on the other hand, AR, is bringing language into our everyday environments. So AR apps can overlay language exercises onto real-world objects, making learning interactive and engaging. For example, you could point your phone at a lamp and it's going to tell you to describe it in English, or you can point your camera at the park and it's going to ask you something about the park. So it's a blend of virtual and the real world. And, it helps kind of make your language learning a little bit more dynamic and practical. And let's not forget about speech recognition and pronunciation tools. These are becoming increasingly sophisticated. I mentioned one previously called Elsa. They analyze your speech and give you detailed feedback in real time, which helps you to improve, obviously, your pronunciation, but also specific sounds and intonation patterns, because that's something that can be really challenging for English learners. It's getting the right tone and intonation when you speak. This kind of instant personalized feedback was like almost impossible a few years ago. And now it's available to anyone with a smartphone. And I think it's so cool how these things are developing. And the rate at which they're developing is also kind of crazy. It's happening so, so fast. So, in my next segment, I want to talk a little bit about the role of social media and online communities. But first, I'm going to take a little break to drink some of my vitamin C water. Okay, give me 1 second for one sip. All right, so let's explore how social media and online communities are reshaping the language learning landscape. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are obviously not just for entertainment. They've become powerful tools for learning languages. And I'm a great example of that. On Instagram and TikTok, you can follow language influencers. I don't really call myself an influencer. I prefer the term content creator or just English teacher. But there are a lot of language influencers, content creators who share bite-sized lessons, tips, and challenges, not unlike myself. And obviously, these platforms allow you to engage with the content that's both educational and entertaining, and you might also be able to connect with other language learners, which is obviously great. So, you know, I think also YouTube is something that I'm dabbling in currently, and Spotify, obviously, because I was interested in creating longer form content. Of course, I think Instagram is a great tool and it's allowed me to make my own teaching business. So I love Instagram, but I do think it has some disadvantages, one of them being that the content is so short. The videos are so short. So I think that it's cool to also expose yourself to longer form content. So, I think there are a lot of great YouTube channels out there that are dedicated to English learning. A lot of them have grammar lessons, vocabulary, pronunciation. And I think it's great because you can learn at your own pace. You can pause the videos, you can rewind, and you can replay them as many times as you need to understand. So I think it's not just about consuming content, but also engaging actively with the social media content that you might be following. So, ooh, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Probably not. There's thunder happening, thunder and lightning. Oh, I'm scared now because I have to drive and I don't want to drive in the rain because I just learned how to drive, so I'm not that confident yet. Let's hope it doesn't rain. Oh no, it's raining. Oh well, hopefully it will stop by the time I have to leave. So, what was I saying? I think participating in language learning communities, such as those on Reddit or language exchange forums, those are really great because they help you connect with fellow learners and maybe native speakers too. Apps like Tandem or HelloTalk are really great. Those facilitate language exchange. You can practice with native speakers and you can help them learn your language. So, language exchange, right? And I think these interactions are really valuable because they give you real-time practice and they also expose you to the language as it's naturally spoken. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about gamification in language learning. Another trend that's making the process of language learning more engaging and enjoyable. So gamification involves turning learning into a game and it's complete with points, levels, and rewards, which can be incredibly motivating. So apps like Memrise or Quizlet use gamification to help keep learners engaged. Memrise, for instance, uses spaced repetition, so helps you retain more vocabulary, and then it rewards you with points for each correct answer. And then the more you learn, the more points you earn. So it can be motivating, especially if you enjoy a bit of friendly competition. You can compete with other learners, or just by yourself too. Quizlet is cool. Quizlet turns flashcards into interactive games. So you can create your own sets of flashcards or you can use those made by others. It's a great way to reinforce and review what you've already learned in a low pressure way. Then you have things like Kahoot, which is often used in classrooms. I use Kahoot a lot. It's equally effective for self-study, though. It's basically a quiz game. You can make the quiz yourself, or you can play quizzes that others have made. It's really fun. I highly recommend. And yeah, I think as technical, let me try again. Every time I get tongue-tied. As technology continues to evolve, I think we can expect to see more sophisticated gamification techniques, perhaps with more immersive games. They might integrate language learning in subtle or engaging ways. I think something that would be cool is like a story-driven game, where you can progress and you have to solve puzzles in English or interact with characters using the languages that you've learned. Um, so yeah, I think the possibilities are endless and there's a lot of cool ideas out there. So, pros and cons of using technology to help you learn. On the positive side, technology makes language learning more accessible than ever. You can learn at your own pace, on your own schedule, and often for free, which is great, or at a low cost. I think the personalized learning paths provided by the AI tools are really great. They ensure that you're not wasting time, that it's not too easy or too difficult, which obviously makes your study time a lot more efficient. I think also technology allows us to connect either with teachers or other learners, which is great. But I also think there are drawbacks. One potential drawback is over-reliance on technology. While apps and tools are obviously fantastic resources, I don't think that they should ever replace real life interactions or traditional study methods entirely. I think it's important to balance digital learning and using technology with face-to-face practice, whether that's in a classroom or with a teacher or language exchange. Um, I think that's super important to find a balance. Additionally, another drawback, there's so many tools out there, so many resources are available, and I think sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming to know where to start or which apps or tools are worth your time. I think the key is to just experiment, see what works for you, and remember that technology is just a tool to enhance your learning, not like the only solution. So, yeah, I hope that you guys have found this interesting. Let me know if you use any of these apps, if you've heard of them before. Do you think technology is a good thing in language learning and why? Do you think it might be a bad thing and why? I'd love to hear your opinions as always. And until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, guys.